Hi, boys and girls. We're going to read about who was Ferdinand Magellan today. Okay, chapter 1. It's actually boys. My boys from the services class. Sorry I can't be there with you today. Colton, Zane, Elias maybe is there. Jovan. I don't think I missed anybody, did I? I hope not. Who was Ferdinand Magellan? Imagine a time when no one was sure the earth was round, when people believed they'd topple over the edge if they sailed too far from home. Imagine a time when most people didn't know where the Pacific Ocean was. Go back 500 years, when whole continents were still undiscovered, when people thought the earth was tiny and that monsters swam through the waters. Yet one man decided to sail his ship through the unknown seas and discover what was out there. He was not the first to make such a perilous voyage, but he went farther and stayed away longer than anyone had before. Because of his brains and courage, he is known for being the first man to circumvent or sail around the globe. Who is he? Ferdinand Magellan. Chapter 1. The Boy Becomes a Man. Sometime around 1480 in Portugal, a boy named Ferdinand was born to the Magellan family. The Magellans were of noble blood, but they had little money or power. They owned a farm far from the sea. This is where Ferdinand, the youngest of 3 children, grew up. Their house wasn't fancy. The family lived on the top floor, and their cows, goats, sheep, and chickens lived on the bottom. Ferdinand's life changed around the time he turned 12. Portugal's Queen Leonora needed pages. Pages were boys who ran messages and did errands for the royal family. Ferdinand was chosen for the job. Pages didn't just work. They received a good education and met the most important people in the land. A clever boy could make the job his first step to success. So Ferdinand left home for Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. The lad who had never seen the ocean found himself in a city right on the coast. What a place it was! Lisbon's harbor was crammed with graceful sailing ships, and its docks overflowed with goods from faraway ports. There was gold, and there was silk, and there were spices, pepper, cloves, ginger, nutmeg, and cinnamon. Spices were valuable because they were used to make beer. They also made meat and other foods taste better. But most important of all, though, they kept food from spoiling, which is a good thing, right? Spices were very expensive. That's because most of them came from Asia, thousands of miles from Portugal. Spices grew in countries like India and those we now call Sri Lanka and Indonesia. The Moluccas, or Spice Islands, part of Indonesia, were the richest of all. But traveling from Europe to these islands was difficult and dangerous. Look at the pictures. In Ferdinand's day, the only way to bring back these spices from far-off places was to take the spice route. This was a long path, both over land and sea, winding through Asia, where the spices grew across the Indian Ocean, through the Middle East, and on to the city of Venice, which is in Italy. Here's the spice route. For 800 years, Arabs had control of the spice route. Together with their trading partners in Venice, they sold the precious goods for high prices. But what if a country found a new route to Asia? Then it could get spices on its own. It could make a fortune. The new route had to be by sea alone. That was the only way to avoid Arab lands. The Portuguese wanted to take over the spice trade, so they built a powerful navy. From the mid 1400s, they had been sending ships to search for a direct sea route to Asia. Spain sought the very same route. It had a strong navy too. In 1492, just about the time Ferdinand became a page, Spain's king and queen sent Christopher Columbus across the Atlantic to find Asia. Instead, he stumbled onto North America, which is us, and Canada and Mexico. By 1494, the competition between Portugal and Spain was so fierce that they almost went to war. But the two countries agreed to divide the world into half. A line was drawn down the middle of a map. Spain could claim all the lands to the west of the line. Portugal could claim all the lands east of the line. The two countries also agreed never to sail through the other's territory. It was probably around this time that young Ferdinand Magellan decided to become an explorer. After all, the Queen of Portugal's palace was close to the harbor, and he could watch the beautiful ships come and go. At the palace, there was constant talk about the great sea captains and the riches and fame earned from the spices. After his father and mother died, Ferdinand had no reason to return to his hometown. He placed his faith in God and believed his destiny was to go to sea. Here's a picture. I need a swig of water. Now, let me tell you a little story about Portugal and Spain, okay? Who prevented war between Portugal and Spain in 1494? The Pope, Alexander VI. The Pope had that much power because both Portugal and Spain were ruled by Catholic kings. So, when he came up with a way to settle their fight, they didn't refuse. He gave Spain one half of the world and Portugal the other. Here's his picture. By 1496, 16-year-old Ferdinand was a government clerk. He helped set up voyages to Asia for great captains like Vasco da Gama. It was da Gama who in 1498 made the great discovery of a sea route to India. Now Portugal no longer needed to trade with the Arabs. It could buy spices on its own. Vasco da Gama became a national hero, and Portugal began building forts and trading posts on the African and Indian coasts. If only Ferdinand could sail to Asia. Ships were leaving constantly, with hundreds of young sailors on board, but Ferdinand couldn't convince anyone to let him go. He did his job well. However, he didn't know the right people, powerful people. To make things worse, the new king of Portugal, Manuel, disliked him. No historians know why, but some guessed that the king was a snob and thought the teenage Ferdinand was a country bumpkin. Manuel couldn't see that Ferdinand had a steely will and a strong heart. Not even a king could stop him. Okay, so the age of exploration. In 1416, a great prince of Portugal named Henry the Navigator encouraged captains to find new countries and learn about the world. He wanted Portugal to rule these new lands and become the world's greatest power. Portuguese explorers first sailed south through the Atlantic and reached the west coast of Africa. Then, in 1488, when Ferdinand Magellan was still in school, Bartholomew Diaz sailed around the tip of Africa. The next step was to sail all the way to Asia. The age of exploration had begun. Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498. Here's a map, boys. Here is Africa, and here's Asia. Here's the compass rose. Anyway, I can show you more pictures when I come back. So that was chapters 1 and the who was Ferdinand Magellan. So I've attached the notes. I'm going to show you right here. I took notes for you. You may use this attachment, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great, awesome day. Bye.